Hi all, trust you're all doing marvellously well. Thank you for inviting me into your workspace. Today I'm just going to give you a little peppering of what Insights Colours is all about in the context of how to connect more effectively with others. Let's start with a nice quote from our good friend Greg Burns. Yes, we all know that most problems arrive with hair on top. How we see ourselves and others has a powerful impact on how we connect. And what helps us is to have a look at Karl Jung's angle on psychological personality preferences. What he basically came up with was we have three sets of preferences that determine a colour, if you like. And that's a combination of how we like to make decisions, the way we react to outer and inner experiences, and how we take in and processing information. And that gives us a sense as to where our colour preference is when we answer a whole series of questions that shoehorn us into those particular sets of pairings. And what we see is we've got a preference around four colours, which is our primary preference. But we all have a combination of all four colours. In fact, there's four colours in all of us. But we favour one more than the others. And that's why sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I see a lot of blue in Bob or a lot of red in Rosie. There is nothing wrong with any of these colours. This is not about capability or competency. It's about preference. A preference for being introverted or extroverted, a thinking type or a feeling type, and indeed a sensing or intuitive type. And it just manifests itself in a preference for one colour more so than another. And like everybody else, we have good days and bad days. And in good days, the strengths of that particular colour preference shines through. But equally, we're only as strong as our weakest link. On a bad day, a fiery red, for example, could become controlling, driving, and intolerant. And on a good day, very determined, competitive, and purposeful. The opposite colour tends to be the ones that we have most difficulty communicating with, unless we're flexible and adaptable, because very often our strength, let's say in a blue, could well be a weakness of the yellow, and equally a weakness of the blue could be a strength of a yellow. When we move on and we talk about how best to work with individuals that reside in certain quadrants, with reds, the real modus operandi to really see eye to eye with a red, if that's not your preference, is be bright, be brief, and be gone. Yellows, because they're extroverted feeling types, always want to be involved, so never leave them out. Greens are introverted feeling types. Show me you care is a good modus operandi. They like to build trust with others, but that can take some time to come. And blues are introverted thinking types, so give me all the details, give me all the facts and all the information. Where we can take this into a slightly different sphere, but it's equally as relevant, of course, is where we apply it to perhaps the music business. And what you could see is there was a band that supported the Police way back in 1980 in Dublin. I was at the actual concert. And there was a small band that arrived in a high ace van, and they set their gear up, and they were called U2. And an interesting angle on that particular band, who have now become the biggest band in the world, is when we did a little bit of work around Insights Colours through our lens, we discovered that one of the reasons why they've sustained so long and they've been so successful has been, in fact, the colour preferences are different for each one of the players. Through our lens, you've got blue, green, red, and yellow represented in the band. And when we got in touch with the bass player in the band, Adam Clayton, this is what he had to say about Insights Colours in the context of the band and its application to business. Let's look at another expert now, a man by the name of Karl Yung, which really encapsulates what colours are all about. Now, if you've done the questionnaire and you've got a profile from us that determines where your colour preferences are, you'll see at the back of the profile you've got a number of graphs, and let me give you a quick peppering of what those graphs are about. Incidentally, if you have completed the questionnaire and you do have a profile, and remember it's a profile and not a report, it does have on average about 94% accuracy, and the bar charts represent a response to the questions that you were given and the relationship between the way you use the three preferences or pairings. Above the midline is you use that colour to a greater extent in your job, below to a lesser extent. And of course, we're referring to the graphic on the left there, which is the personal conscious. The personal less conscious is you outside of work, perhaps the more instinctive you when you're not controlling how you present yourself to the world. You at home, if you like. And a significant difference between the two graphs is represented by the preference flow, how you dial up different energies or different colours between your home life and your work life. So the significant difference is shown by the middle graph on how you drive your energies. You can develop this from 4 colours to 8 colours, where you'll get a wheel that represents what we call attitudinal preferences, and you could plot all your team members on this particular wheel, which gives you a good idea around how well your team is represented in terms of attitudinal preferences. Ideally, one person in every extension will give you a good diversity of perspective, helping melody, perhaps for problem solving. Okay, let me just give you some quick key takeaways from all of this. Let me share with you what we're talking about here in the context of what you can take away from this. And remember, number one, it's not about capability or competency. Colours is all about preference. There is no wrong place to be. Secondly, where preferences are different, you've got to work in the other space and sustain it. It's all about flexibility and sustain it. Because this person is a different colour preference to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's probably a good thing in that they can bring a different lens or a different perspective to the table. And be sure to respect and encourage the differences. It's a good idea to ensure that when you're hiring or problem solving, that you encourage people who are just not like you to contribute and join your team and work on problem solving. Okay, folks, if you need to know more about this, do get in touch. Now remember, on our website, vibetraining.ie, we've got a very nice little case study booklet called APSI Recipe for Change. And also as well on our video channel, Vibe Training Ireland, you can learn a little bit more about U2 and that case study we did around the band. It's a video called Building Dynamic Winning Teams, What We Can Learn from U2. So it just leaves me to say thanks very much for showing up. Remember, executives that succeed are very, very good communicators. And Dale Carnegie said business success is 75% human engineering and 25% technical competence.